See, Jack, I know you're like the only main like recurring panelist who doesn't fan, but quite frankly, I need to fan myself after watching this episode of the challenge.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I have the fan going on above me, so you just can't see it.
Exactly. Hi everybody, welcome to the Cup TV, part of the Currently Unnamed Podcast Network, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and you can always come here first to quench your thirst. I'm Brooke, and I'm passionate about pop culture. I'm actually not drinking anything. I had a water earlier, one of those. Wait, no, I lied. I have a water bottle still. There we go. So yeah, it's been a season of the Challenge All Stars, but this back half has really been selling me. So thank you so much to the remaining contestants for actually growing a spine and not just sending Adam and Steve into elimination every week. 10 out of 10.
And hello. My name is Jack. I'm the resident game designer of the panel. And at least something happened for once. Like, we've had good episodes the past couple, but like, we have seen a game mechanic that has literally never come up to this point actually happen for once.
It's weird. Like, it's very weird.
I genuinely thought it was a twist of the episode before realizing, no, that's been the rule set the whole time. It just has never activated because everyone is pussyfooted around it.
Truly. But you know what? You know what else is something that you shouldn't pussyfoot around? Terrible segue.
Terrible segue, but
Terrible
perfect
segue.
merch.
Buying your cup mug and other cup merch, other assorted cup merch. And you can buy your cup merch at laundrycreations.etsy.com. That link will be in the description down below and in the ticker I'm about to turn on right now. And alongside that, along with our social links. And before we get into this episode, just make sure you hit that big red subscribe button, punch that notification bell, hit the thumbs up, share the video. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and it would be very awesome if you joined that group of people. So, I mean, you'd be like one of 1,000. Is that like, it's like 1 over 1,000? What's that like fractionally? Like 1 over 1,000 and
A thousandth?
Like 1,000th, so like 001.
Yeah, no, it's called 1,000th.
Yeah, and then you like move the decimal point. So it's like like you flip the number, then you move the decimal. So it's like 001. Right? Tens, hundred thousands. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so confused as to what you're describing. I'm going to be so honest.
I'm just living my best life, Jack. If we do hit the 1,000 subscriber mark, you'll be like 0.1% of our subscriber base. So thanks for that. Beside the point, so this has been a really fun episode because so much happened. Some really good stuff happened. Some really annoying stuff happened. If you're me,
Well, this episode, finally, with 6 teams left in the game and the threat of, after this episode, there's going to be 1 team without a star. Mm-hmm. We should probably do something to make sure we're not that team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we actually get gameplay.
Yeah. It was kind of crazy because most of the season has just been, I'm going to ride the middle, not make any waves, stick to the plan of sending Adam and Steve in against everybody, and just kind of coast. And it was really nice to see pretty much none of the teams try to coast this week. We are coming off the eliminations of Ashley K and Dario. I miss you, Ashley. Big fan. Dario, I don't care. And that does mean a star is in play at our next challenge, which means either Shane and Davon, Katie and Veronica, or Nicole and Melissa will get that star and become the 4th star team to replace Ashley and Dario. Before we knew this challenge, what did you expect was going to happen here?
Honestly, I thought it was going to be like, okay, repeat the question one more time. My brain is.
Who did you think was going to win the star before the challenge?
Before the challenge, I mean, Davon and Shane have probably just the most athleticism between the two and the most drive to win. But in terms of communication, Veronica and Katie have the best. So basically anyone but Melissa and Nicole, because they were beat out in both respects.
Well, sort of with the communication, because we open the episode with Melissa and Nicole getting a little close, not quite enough for a challenge hookup, but close enough. We get a quick little peck on the lips from a slightly drunk Melissa. They're flirting a lot. They're flirting pretty hard. Veronica says she thinks Nicole's crossing the line because she's in a relationship, not to be rude, but when has that ever stopped her before? But yeah, we called it at the beginning of the season. There's something's about to happen with these two.
Yeah, I mean, it was bound to happen at some point. They get slightly too drunk and boom, they're very interested in each other. And there's not much going on. There's 12 other people in the house, and the only other person either of them would be interested in is Nani, and neither of them are interested in her. And Sam. And neither of them are interested in Sam. And Veronica. There's
this house has more queer people in it than straight people.
Yeah, it's very interesting how that. I mean, we've even talked about that all season, but like,
yeah, there were literally is like 60% of this cast is queer, and I'm just thank you, Challenge, for giving us that, because that means maybe some gay people might actually win the show.
Oh my god.
When is the last time that someone that was not furniture that was gay won this show? Exactly. Yeah, but we go to the challenge. The challenge is called Bubble Bullseye. This was actually cute and kind of fun. This was delightful.
This was a very different challenge. If anyone is going to accuse people of like, oh, the challenge has gone into full Big Brother carnival game mode, they're going to point to this.
Oh, and the elimination, but we'll talk about it.
And the elimination.
So this challenge, I'm gonna age myself very quickly. There was about Millsbury, like the General Mills, right? Like the cereal company General Mills.
Yeah.
Right? So back in the day, they had an online MMO called Millsbury, right? And you can look it up, it's real. And they had this one really fun flash game on there where you would play with it was sponsored by, it was Fruit Loops, because General Mills, and it was bumper boats, but it was like sumo bumper boats with these like pool floaties. And this challenge gave me that energy, because these stupid like little floating cart things looked exactly like these damn bumper boats. But beside the point, so the challenge is pretty simple. It's going to be played across 5 rounds. One member of the team sits in this big circular, it looks like a big pool floaty thing, but it's a cart. They get pushed down this ramp onto this shuffleboard like platform that has a bullseye worth 25 points, and then outer rectangular shapes that are worth 20, 15, 10, and 5 points respectively. The team that is the furthest from the 25-point zone at the end of each round is eliminated. And the reason it's bubble bullseye is because they have bubbles at the bottom of the hill.
Because they can.
It was fun. It was cute.
I mean, they needed something to make it other than just like push your partner a little bit down and then have them stop.
Yeah. So the only other 2 rules that are important is that if you touch your hand or any other part of your body touches the platform at any point, you lose 10 points from your score for that round. And then if you fall completely out of your cart, you're automatically out. No questions asked. And also the partners switch spots each round. So one round, one of them's pushing, and the next round that person's in the cart, and vice versa. So going into this challenge, I immediately recalled exactly what Veronica mentioned, which was the bullseye parachute that Veronica did on Challenge Season 3, which is one of Veronica's most iconic moments from the show, if I do say so myself. Veronica parachutes out of a thing and lands in the middle of this like 15-foot bullseye, which when parachuting, a 15-foot drop zone is incredibly impressive.
Very tight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is a lot of very precise angles, but I mean...
We've seen some people parachuting in this show and, like, break their butt, so...
Yeah.
Good stuff from Veronica here. Pretty much everybody else is like, yeah, we're just gonna feel it out and see what happens. So the first round goes, and Nani and Turbo are the first team out. They are not happy about it. Because they pretty much know at this point that whatever team gets the star, they're probably going to put the other two teams in, and they're going to steal Nani and Turbo's star. Like, they pretty much know if they don't win. And then it just keeps going. We get Katie and Veronica get saved because Nicole puts her hand down to try to like slow down the cart. So Melissa and Nicole get out. Then we get the elimination of was it Katie and Veronica next? I think it was Katie and Veronica next.
It was Adam and Steve.
Oh, it was Adam and Steve because Steve completely turtles on his cart and just falls flat on his face. Very entertaining, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I like Steve, but it was very funny. And then Katie and Veronica get eliminated, which means, because I'm so excited to put this. Yay! Devon and Shane got the star!
Yay! I mean, it's literally just like, oh, and they're just like, cool, we want a star now. We don't have to do anything else.
Mm-hmm. We get to this final round, and it's Frank and Sam and Shane and Devon. And I mean, we know what's been going on with Shane and Frank this season. It's been very contentious. The two gays are fighting to be the alpha gay, and it's just a lot of work here. Tell me I'm wrong.
You're not.
But at the very end, it comes down to the last push, and the winners of the challenge are Shane and Devon. Church members. We have been praying for this moment.
Absolutely. It's only we were waiting for so long, and we finally get to receive.
Mixed metaphor with Jocasta there, but I get where you're coming from.
Look, I've had a long day. If I'm mixing things, at least it's a sentence.
Hey, at least you went with a Big Brother player. I will give you that.
Yeah.
You wanted to provoke me? I'm provoked. So we then get this little scene of, Shane and Devon get their star. Everybody's happy. Woo, woo, woo. And they're celebrating. And then Frank starts being Frank. Pulls Steve aside, tells him, we need to vote in Melissa and Nicole. Because if we put in Melissa and Nicole, then if Shane and Devon try to pull anything, Shane's going to be screwing over his best friend of like 20 years and not putting Veronica and Katie in. Because, again, the plan is now Melissa and Nicole are going to go in against Katie and Veronica. Whichever team wins keeps the star and takes it from Nani and Turbo. And Devon walks up on the end of this conversation where Frank says something to the effect of, we need to make sure that doesn't or like prevent that from happening, or something to that effect, right? And then Devon does what Devon does, which is ask questions very logically while people accuse her of being loud and wrong.
I mean, she literally clocks it immediately of like, you were trying to screw me over, weren't you? Like, Frank, we've been through this. I know who you are. You know who I am. My name is Devon. It's great to meet you. Mm-hmm. Don't screw me, because I'm in control, and if I need to,
And we get this really fun moment too, where Steve is trying to talk for Frank, and everyone's like, "No, I want to hear from Frank," which work, Queen stuff, but
work.
Frank tries to like deflect and like dance around the question. There's no dancing around the question with Devon. You answer her straight up or you don't. And Steve, Frank is getting a little antsy. He calls Devon girl, and Devon goes, my name is Devon. And then she looks back at Steve because Steve's talking to her at this point. So Steve explains the situation. He's honest with her. And I think Devon respects that a lot more than people trying to bullshit with her. So good work, Steve. Get your 8s on that one. But it basically amounts to Frank is being Frank and Devon is not playing any games here.
Whoops. I mean, Devon has an extremely strong bullshit detector, and she's gonna make sure that, she has control, especially when she's in power. So what more can you do?
True. So we go to the House vote pretty soon after this. There's not much discussion, really. It's kind of, we all kind of know. Melissa and Nicole end up volunteering to go in, but not without Nani and Turbo basically exposing the plan to TJ of saying, yeah, it doesn't really matter who goes in because if they win, they're taking our star. So we can't really do anything about it. And the whole episode, we get this, everyone's kind of assuming this is going to be the last challenge and the last elimination, and whatever team doesn't have a star is just going to get purged. Hasn't quite been made that clear to us yet at home.
I mean, we check the number of episodes and go, is the final going to be 3 episodes?
Or is it going to be 2 episodes in a reunion, maybe? Like,
yeah, basically it's too long for it to be not specific.
Yeah. So we then get one of the most ironic scenes, I think, of the entire season for me. We get this like establishing shot showing it's raining in Vietnam. What's new? And then we hear, oh fuck. You see the camera fall to the ground, and we're suddenly transported inside where Veronica has rolled her ankle. One time is an accident, 2 times is a pattern. You need to be careful on those damn steps. Stop wearing heels in the rain on marble, Veronica. If you are, just wear a wedge. They're so much safer.
Genuinely, it's like Veronica, just to be clear, has already been taken out of an All-Star season because she broke her foot in high heels. Like,
on a flight of stairs. On a flight of stairs.
Like, she has already fucked herself up. We don't need this to happen again.
In this moment when this happened, I just started laughing because what else could happen to Veronica at this point? So many other bullshit things have happened to her on the challenge, but this one particular situation, I'm like, this is the ground we're retreading this year. It's not, being a multiple time champion in the season's early years. It's not coming back and showing up and showing out on Dirty 30. No, it's the one where she rolls her damn ankle. Okay, great.
Okay. Sure.
So we get about 5 or 6 people trying to give Veronica different tips and like tell her what to do. And I think it was Shane told her to go get her compression socks because it'll
help.
It'll help.
Massage gunning the bottom of her foot. Well, Frank is a actual doctor and is basically like, none of what you're doing is helping. Just put ice on it.
Look, if you have learned anything from being if you were ever like a scout or if you were trained in first aid at your job place or something like that, it's very simple. Rice, rest, ice, compress, elevate. This is all you have to do to an injury like this. Now, granted, I don't think the massage gun was doing any problems. I think it was I think it was kind of just whatever. But like those compression socks probably did not make that situation any better. You don't want to compress it with that. You want to like wrap it.
Yeah.
So Frank like tries to leave the room. He basically goes, There's a lot of people in here trying to work with this, do whatever. Just make sure you ice it. That's all you really need to do. And Shane starts popping off after Frank leaves the room a little bit about like, oh my God, I hate him. I don't like him. And I'm like, Shane, I have been defending you all season. But like, maybe trust the literal physical therapist to tell you what's wrong, how to deal with an injury.
It's so much. Like, just let the man talk and be like, hey, I'm a medical professional. I can go get the med team if we want, and they're just gonna say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you want? But I mean, at this point, I'm like, oh, is she trying to take Veronica out? Like, is he doing all this to medically DQ Veronica?
Only possible, honestly. But yeah, so at this point, we're not really sure how Veronica's gonna wind up. Next day, she's totally fine. Mm-hmm. No lasting issues, no problems. She's just chill. Later in the episode, we see her skipping with Katie. So if that tells you anything, I think she's fine. But importantly, we get the last plea from Nani and Turbo, essentially. They get Devon and Shane are like, look, we're not trying to ask you for much, but all I'm saying is this. If you want to go up against Adam and Steve in a final, you're crazy.
And they're not wrong.
They're not wrong.
They really aren't. Like, Adam and Steve basically will roll every single pair in the final that remains unless they get an injury, excluding Nani and Turbo, who could probably keep up with that.
See, but here's the crazy thing, too. I think the thing with Adam and Steve is that I think they are going to need to get comps that are suited to them. Because, granted, Steve, good at puzzles. We've seen it, right? Adam and Steve both are probably the strongest physically team, like physical strength, buff Superman arms, right? They're the strongest there. But I would argue that when it comes to a few other categories, specifically, we know not a huge eating competition team. They're like fine at it. When it comes to dexterity, we haven't really seen it with them. So it's going to be interesting to see what type of final they set up here, because this is supposed to be, an equitable final where everybody has a chance to win. So we'll see what happens if they do make it to the final. Nani and Turbo, we haven't won a challenge all season. Why are you going against us when this team has literally sent a third of the house home? They have sent home their own list of star people. You could throw out an entire star boards worth of teams that Adam and Steve have sent home.
Yeah.
Fascinating stuff. So we go to the jungle. And it was very nice to see Devon not have to worry about going in with a star. It was church members rejoice. So Melissa and Nicole come out, and Shane says they're sending in Katie and Veronica. And Devon goes, what if we don't agree? And for a second, I was like,
oh. You know what? Sure, I'm in. Devon, just fuck with Shane for a little bit. Say, what if we don't agree? I just want to know. Maybe let's screw with his plans and get Adam and Steven. That'll be fine. That'll be absolutely fine.
And then she immediately goes, I'm just kidding. And I'm like,
Devon, oh my God.
Okay. Funny joke, I admit, but given the context of the situation, I was a little irritated. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, good on her for making basically the plan of the episode that was established almost basically after the last elimination occurred have a tiny little wrench in it, even if it's only for a moment.
Yeah. So I do send in Katie and Veronica. Devon mentions in the confessional, she's like, look, Nani and Turbo are my friends. But at the end of the day, they're big competition. 1, 2, we don't know what's going to happen in this final. I don't want to piss off all these other teams. And then 3, if they're really, it's every man for themselves. If they're really my friends, we'll be cool after this no matter what. And she has since confirmed on Twitter that one of them is and one of them is not. You can guess which one.
Surprise, if you even slightly annoy Turbo, he hates your guts for the rest of time. So none of this is surprising, really.
So we go into our jungle. It's called Pin Pop. So there are 4 platforms in the middle of the jungle for raised platforms, with one member of each team on standing across from each other in these little lanes. They have a rope that has a big spike in the middle of it. Each partner has an end of the rope. They have to pull the rope on top of these balloons and drop these spikes to pop their balloons. And the team that pops the most balloons in the fastest amount of time wins. Importantly, they also have to pop them in these tiny little bullseye holes on top of the balloons. And if they pop them anywhere else, that balloon doesn't count. So hearing this elimination, I'm like, oh, okay. So this is either going to be blowout or it's going to be the best elimination of the season. And we got blessed. It was the best elimination of the season.
Yeah, no, this was stupid close all the way down. I mean, there were multiple times where teams nearly popped a balloon on the side, which then meant as long as the other team popped them all correctly, they automatically won. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we literally get 1 and 2 and 1 and 2, and then 3 and 3, and then 4 and 4, and then 5 and 5 and 6 and 6, and then we literally get to both of them being on the 7th at the exact same time.
And it was so crazy to see that too, because the people in the stands are going crazy because most of them didn't really have a preference who won, honestly. Davon did. She wants Veronica out of there because Veronica's messing with Shane. But other than that, no one else really cared. But you get this really fun sequence where they're literally both directly on top of the balloon. It's all about who can line up their spike first. And I cannot believe I'm saying this sentence, but I forgot to make the banner. And
oh my god,
Melissa and Nicole win an elimination. Not only do they win an elimination, they get a star. And now no one's gonna get rid of them.
No, at this point, congratulations. They are running the final. There is literally no reason for any single person in this game to take them out.
I respect it.
I mean, and the exact plan that everyone expected going into the round happens, which I just want to be clear, I didn't watch All Stars 4, so I didn't know exactly how this twist played out.
Mm-hmm.
I was during the episode, I think my brain just blipped for a moment, and I was like, wait, why is everyone talking about someone stealing a star? Is this a twist for the episode? I literally went backwards to try and figure out, where a twist happened. No, this has been the mechanic the whole time, and it just has never occurred because everyone played so passively at the start of the season.
Well, no. Well, I wouldn't even say they played passively. They recognized that the biggest threat in the game were Adam and Steve. They set them in 4 times. They sent everyone who went against them home, right? And then, because they couldn't get Adam and Steve out, they started sending in pairs of star holders against each other. And guess what? Granted, you got some stars moved around, but guess who stick around? Adam and Steve. They're still there. They're still running the final. And now Melissa and Nicole steal from Nani and Turbo.
Oh, okay. Have Nani and Turbo just outright been screwed? Have they basically been yeah, so that star you had the entire game just got ripped away from you at the last moment. You can go home now.
I'm irritated with this. I'm not going to lie. Again, I love Melissa and Nicole, especially Melissa. I've made that abundantly clear. Melissa is one of my favorite challengers we ever have on the show. Mm-hmm. I get where Davon is coming this episode too, of I want Veronica out because she's affecting my partner. As much as I love Nani and Turbo, I have to prioritize my team in this situation. That makes sense to me. But it would have been so sweet to me for Melissa and Nicole to get the star, and now they know nobody's going to touch them, and they steal from Adam and Steve, which is what they should have done. I understand
they really
why
should have.
I understand why they took from Nani and Turbo. I really do. But at the end of the day, I don't think it was the right call for them, personally. Oh, I forgot to mention Katie and Veronica are eliminated.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Quick note. Veronica, I love you to death, but this is not about you. Katie Cooley, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you back on the challenge this season. I've seen Veronica recently, okay? It's been a few years since I've seen Katie. I miss Katie.
Fair.
Katie, come back to the flagship. Save the flagship. Please, dear God, save the flagship. They need you. Katie was one of the best parts of the season for me. Just her confessionals were so fun and so funny. Like, there are an infinite number of Katie Cooley moments I am going to get just from the Challenge All-Stars 5. So thank you, Katie. And Veronica, you were great too. You really did drive a lot of the strategy on the season. So it was really impressive to see both of you get to come back again. Come back again, please. Thank you.
I mean, I agree with you. Especially because no teams know exactly what's going to happen to the one team without a star if they get immediately thrown out of the game. Like, everyone is kind of banking on it. So in that case, you should probably eliminate Adam and Steve for your own sake. Like, yes, Turbo is a beast in a final, but have you heard how Nani and Turbo communicate?
Not well. That is the answer.
Not well. At this point, not well, and Nani's not going to take it. So, yeah, that's... I mean, they really should have taken Adam and Steve. Now Adam and Steve basically get to the final because I'm almost near positive they either beat someone in elimination next round or just outright win the challenge.
It's very possible. But what I can say, speaking of next round, it ain't over yet. We're going to have another challenge next week. Probably another elimination. We'll see what happens. I will say it feels a bit odd to have this be the way this plays out. But quite frankly, it kind of had to happen at some point where there's no purge and everybody just kind of goes through. We've had variants of this twist before. We've had the gold skulls. We've had the stars on All Stars 2 seasons now. Something like this was going to happen at some point.
Yeah, I can't. This is the one thing, and I talked about it last week as well, of like, the whole twist is kind of pointless other than forcing people to start drama, because if we're playing until every team is naturally eliminated and every team in the game has to have a star, what was the point of the stars? Like, genuinely, it just doesn't matter. And I mean, we got a really entertaining season in the second half because of it. But maybe the first half changes up because there isn't the threat of the star of like, oh, we have to target these 4 teams out the gate. So, I mean, a lot of the drama just focused on something that was ultimately completely meaningless in the quality of the game itself. So I just don't know how to feel about the twist for this season, looking through the entire game of like, it's pointless.
Well, the really interesting thing too is that the people that competed on All Stars 4, right? They've seen this purge happen, right? Because the first time we had it on Total Madness, everybody had a red skull by the time we got to right before the final when they would have done the purge. So it kind of just worked itself out in the long run. And when it happened on Double Agents, right, we just kind of whittled it down until it was the final 10. And everybody at the final 10 just happened to have a gold skull. So when we get to this point, last season was the first time we really had this purge moment happen. where we see people go home because you just don't have a star. And you know, it's just the way it is. I think this is probably the best I've seen this twist executed, because I think when you hear if you don't have this, you can't run in the final, you assume there's going to be a time where, well, if you don't have this, you can't go home because it's time for the final. I think it made them play in a way that they probably wouldn't have without the stars being there in the first place.
Yeah. But also this now, I have trouble seeing them ever bring stars back in a capacity, because now it's like, okay, last season the threat of the star was meaningless. Let's ignore the star until the second half of the game.
Mm-hmm. I personally think that they will bring back stars, but it won't be in the same way the stars are now. I think they're going to have to tweak it again. But importantly, we do end with the tease of a challenge fight. Everyone goes back to the villa. You see Melissa and Nicole put up their little thing on the little placard beside one of the stars. Everybody's cool. Everybody's happy for them, except for Nani and Turbo.
I mean,
you might as well have played the shark music from Jaws here, because Nani's outside crying and Turbo's like saying that Nani's been traumatized by the challenge, which I thought was hysterical. Thank you, Turbo, for that. But Nani's like, you know, this entire season I've been really nice. And they start walking back in the house, and Nani puts on her game face. And oh, it's going to go down next week. I cannot wait for next week. So that's where we leave off when it comes to the actual episode. But before we head out, it's time for a draft update.
Yay.
So, as of last week, I had 4 teams left. Lana had 2 teams left. And I once again have had another casualty of war. RIP to Katie and Veronica. You did very well for a 6 seed. Thank you so much. So, remaining in the game on Team Brook, you have Shane and Davon, Adam and Steve, and Melissa and Nicole. All 3 of them have stars, which is great for me. And then Team Lana is Nani and Turbo, and Frank and Sam. So I'm feeling good about my odds right now.
Yeah, no, good. I would say that you are in a really good position. I mean, basically next week, okay, the next round is weird because at this point, everyone is kind of just aware that stars don't matter. So I think the optimal strategy for everyone, they do, but no matter what, there will be 4 teams at the end of the round, meaning even if it was star on star, the team without a star would just get a star automatically via the next challenge.
Theoretically. I think the play here, if you are any team other than Adam and Steve, is to send in Adam and Steve against Nani and Turbo.
Yes. Literally, I think that's the only strategy you have.
Yeah, and then, I mean, even for Nani and Turbo, I mean, I'd probably, if I'm Nani and Turbo, I'd probably look at Frank and Sam or Melissa and Nicole. But, like, it's kind of the question of, do you want Adam and Steve now or in a final? It's up to you. You can choose, but you're going to have to fight them at one of the 2 points if you're Nani and Turbo. If it were me, I'd rather take them on in the elim. I feel like there's a better chance that it's suited to their skills than the final would be.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think next week is going to be really interesting. I mean, it's probably likely that Nani and Turbo are probably going to be the ones that go home, but I could see a world where, you know, they beat Adam and Steve. Like, it could happen. So, I don't know.
There is also a good chance, because we do see that next week's challenge, to some degree, is a mini final, which I would think that potentially Adam and Steve or Nani and Turbo might be able to just outright win that. And then at that point, the 3 teams who are not Adam and Steve or Nani or Turbo, that's going to be a rough round, Because at that point, it's like, okay, who do we basically throw to the wolves and pray that they can do this?
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, if Adam and Steve or Nani and Turbo win, I think the other one of that pair is automatically through to the final because they beat whoever they go into elimination with.
Exactly.
So no. Well,
I don't know about that though, because I mean, again, every team has their weaknesses here that they aren't great at. I will say Adam and Steve are probably the least vulnerable to those weaknesses at the moment, but they could get something that's just not good for them in these elimination rounds. You never do know who's going home, so there is that little bit of interest that's still keeping me peaked here. But let us know down below, who do you think is gonna win next week's challenge? Who do you think is going to go home? Why do you think that Beth and John A should still be in the season? Let me know in the comments down below. You know, they were an entertaining 2 episodes, Jack. That's all I can say.
They were very entertaining 2 episodes. I can't lie.
So yeah, let us know down below what your thoughts are on the season thus far. Make sure that since you stayed this long, might as well hit that subscribe button while you're here. Let's get to 1,000 subscribers. Join the club. We would really appreciate it. You can also hit that thumbs up button, punch that notification bell. You can buy your merch. If I can find my mug, I placed it somewhere and I don't remember where. There it is. There's the cup mug. You can buy your cup mug and other assorted cup merch at laundrycreations.etsy.com. That link is scrolling right here. It's right there, and out. Follow the finger. There we go. Right down there, and it's in the description down below. You can buy your merch there, and also it's the upgraded cup mug where the logo's over here, not over here. So make sure you do that. Also, follow Jack and I down below. Socials are down below. Follow the channel itself at the Cup Pod on anywhere you look for socials. It says Blue Sky, but it's also on TikTok, Twitter, etc. Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. But we're gonna have to head out. So cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.